you're a huge Celtic fan. How do you feel the team are getting on this season?
I mean, the team. I think the team are doing well. It's hard to keep a certain level all the time, and you have to, like any team, you have to kind of sit back sometimes and soak up the pressure. And sometimes you're going to grind out points that are not going to be, fantastic to watch. But as long as the points keep coming, and sometimes you're not going to get the break of the ball, or things are going to run against you. But I think Celtic has really turned a corner now, and their main goal was to progress in Europe, and albeit we sorely get knocked out by Bayern, and I do believe there was a great chance to get past them. We've seen so many upsets that night from other clubs, that they managed they had the David Goliath syndrome, and David came through on the night, and I think that could have been our night, but it's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. But I think Celtic's done really well this season. I'm obviously, I'll stick my neck out and say we'll probably do a domestic sweep of the treble. So you can't really do much better than that, and the squad is continuously improving. Jota came back. He filled a good position where we always had Maida, who we could play up front and middle, and Kyogo was basically a swap deal. But Kyogo, he's in his 30s now, so whereas Jota's 26, so we've gained 5 years. It's a no-brainer in my eyes. So it's good. And then we get Kieran Tierney for the summer. I don't know if I don't think Greg Taylor's going to hang around to play second fiddle, because when you think of the big games, it makes a lot of sense. He's going to want to be involved in the Rangers games, the European games, but with Tierney, I don't think that's going to happen. So he might move on, but we're going to have a solid left back and right back. Alistair Johnson's came on leaps and bounds this season, I think. And if Trusty can build up that partnership with Cameron Vickers, the midfield's solid. The difference between Celtic now, I believe, and Celtic 3 years, and a lot of fans, sometimes we don't really give praise, but I do think that the board have really came through. The likes of Michael Nicholson, Chris Mackay, they've done exceptional for Celtic. I remember when we had the option to buy Jota for 6 million and Cameron Vickers for 6 million, we were always thinking, oh, they're never going to go for both of them. They're never going to splash out both of them. But when you think about it, they did, and we've went up a level. We spent 9 million on Ida, and we spent 11 million on Engels in the same season. In 2 players, we spent 20 million in 2 players, as well as refreshing Kyogo for Jota, and then securing Kieran in for the summer, which he'll be on good wages. He's not going to come for the standard run of the mill. The investment in the club it's never been seen before. I really do believe that the investment's there now, and that's the difference. And I think that's what Brendan really needed. He needs that to progress in Europe, and we're going to capture another striker. We'll see who that turns out to be in the summer, but somebody will be added.
Do you feel a striker should have been added this January, or are you quite happy waiting for the summer?
Listen, the January market is not the market to buy players. It really isn't. And as a fan, you always want. We want. But look at that. The boy we were chasing, what's his name? Verstegen, or whatever his name. Gandhi. Yeah, I can't pronounce his name. I'm sorry. But
I probably can't either.
But if you really do research on that, you'll find out that they asked for 10 million plus. You'll probably find, if people really know the full story, there's buyout clauses that kick in after a certain period of time. And to be honest with you, if you wait to the summer, you get more options. People in January are more desperate buyers. We brought in the boy on loan from Leicester. Was it Leicester we brought him in from? Where was he from? The left back. Sorry.
Schlupp.
Yes.
Oh, from Palace.
That's right, Palace. Yeah. That's right. He's a loan, but it might work out for him. He might want to stay. He might want to be Kieran's understudy. You never know. But January markets are never the ones to get. It's always more a desperate need, to reinforce or replace. So we had Maida Maeda's brilliant up front. For Japan, he plays up the middle. So we always had an option between, moving Maeda more central. Now we've added Jota, so we've got another winger. Kuhn's been fantastic. We're flying on with wingers right now. So we can afford ourselves the luxury to move Maeda up the middle, and you can change the style between Maeda and Ineida.
And he has shown that he can score really important goals for the club in finals.
Yeah. Well, when you think about it, we spent 9 million for Ida. You have to give this guy a chance to be the first pick. You have to. I mean, what was the point in spending 9 million for him if just to play an understudy all the time? So now's his chance. He knows it. The boy's still young. He's got, I believe he's going to take his chance really well, and he's going to come exceptionally good.
So you mentioned Tierney and Jota returning back to the club. Are you always a fan of players coming back to the club to return?
Well, I mean, Kieran's the prodigal son, isn't he? Like, Kieran Tierney is the prodigal son, so, and he's always been, he's such a likeable character. Even when he was respectful towards Arsenal all the time. When he went to Real Sociedad, he's always respectful. And as far as Jota goes, Jota left. There's a whirlwind. 25 million. Celtic are not going to turn that down. There's no way. And I feel kind of sorry for him because he had a terrible time between managers changing at his clubs, and then that's just stupid. Being signed to Saudi Arabia, and then you can only play so many, foreign players. It wasn't down to his ability, but it just the way it worked out. So, and he's always, when he left Celtic, he released that video about how much Celtic meant to him and how it was a great place to play.
So how did you feel then when Brendan Rodgers came back? Were you happy with that decision?
Listen, I was one of the first ones outspoken to really not be happy with Brendan leaving. And I think what he did to Celtic was terrible. He left us in such a crucial time and such a history-making time. And I get it. Sometimes the grass is greener, as you say. But for him to come back, it wasn't easy. He had to win over the crowd, and he had to win me over as well as a fan. And for me, he had to win me back over. But he has, and he's always been a good manager. He's always got great ability, and it's just now I don't think the board would let him do that again. I think that's once bitten, twice shy, and I think he's genuinely come back, and I think he genuinely does love the club. But I think there's a great synergy now between the board and the manager, and our board tend to. They're just like you and I think a lot of people don't get that. They're just like you and I. You want to see Celtic win, and it's all about Celtic. But because they're wearing suits, or because they're not in the stands with us, or whatever it is, they would tend to think them as just businessmen. But they're pure Celtic through and through, most of them.
Current rumours are going around with Rangers and the investment group looking to buy stakes at the club. How do you see that going if they do get the investment?
I don't know. Rangers are just riddled in debt all the time. Listen, even if they got new investors coming in, there's only so much you can spend. There's FPP rules now, with financial rules set out by UEFA, and I do believe that this year, the following year, it's actually been curbed even further. I think you only spend 70% of your income, I believe, on your expenses. So you can only get, granted it's Scotland, so you could probably go out and buy maybe 4 or 5 players at 4 million, 5 million a pop, and in the markets like Eastern European market and other markets that Rangers have, and Celtic for that matter of fact, have jumped in before. You could probably, they will strengthen if it does happen, but I just focus on Celtic. I don't really focus on them. I'm not worried by them. I know our ability, and that's what it all comes down to. It's just noise. That's the way I see it.
Do you feel though that the way Rangers obviously has come on the past few years, they won the league, do you think that might be the reason why the Celtic board have started to invest a bit more in players? or is it just the way the market is?
I mean, here's the thing: the Scottish, for winning the league in Scotland, the money is pathetic. It really is compared to England, compared to other countries. So if you want to be a team that has a good income and be considered a player, you have to be part of the Champions League. You have to earn the 30 to 45, 50 million. And if you're not at that table, it's breadcrumbs. You know, the Europa League, you've got to go the whole distance. It's just, you know, and I think that Celtic acknowledge that. You have a stadium, capacity stadium all the time. You know, the waiting list for Celtic is still strong for a season ticket. You're paying the wages. You may as well aim for the Champions League. You may as well be a part player. And I think that's the difference. When Brendan came back, that was the strategy. It's not just about winning trebles or doubles. The real part of this is to qualify for the Champions League and to go as far as you can and to be a regular player in the Champions League. And that's why this season was super important.
Yeah.
You know, to go out to Bayern over 2 legs by 1 goal, that's an achievement for Celtic. You know, Bayern are a really strong club. It's not like, not that Bayern Leverkusen's not strong. It's they're, you know, they're a top 6 club in Europe. And I think you've got to acknowledge that's the progression Celtic want. We've got to be a player. So nothing to do with Rangers coming through or finding investment. We focus on Celtic, and that's what the board have effectively done.
Yep.
So one area where I look at Celtic and maybe struggle's not like the right word, but they don't always, well, actually maybe struggle. They seem to lose their best young Scottish talent now south of the border because they pay more money for those players. Are you concerned about the youth development at Celtic or just in Scotland in general?
So the youth development at Celtic has been a major problem recently. I believe you can only sign a player up to 3 years on a professional contract. Their first professional contract can only be up to 3 years, I believe. And the problem you have is, you know, they're signing these contracts at 16 years old with no exposure. They're playing in the Champions League, B team, reserve team, whatever you want to call it, and they're starting to get exposure, and then suddenly they want first team. They want a chance to progress, and you know, unless you are, Ben Doak was an exception because I believe that Ben had the ability to come into the team. He wouldn't have went straight into the team, obviously, because you know we have players more experience and probably more ability and talent than him at the time. But they just want to progress, you know, and so the days of Callums and Kieran's and Jamie Forrest, those days are kind of difficult now because they get offers, like even for Rocco, you know, Rocco really wanted to stay at Celtic, he did, and he stuck at it for a few years. He could have left the year before he left, but it gets to the point where it's hard. What can you do? You're not going to bench Kyogo or Ida for Vata. You know, you're not. So unfortunately, sometimes they have to move on. If they're not at a certain level, they'll ultimately move on. And it's down to this 3-year rule. You can't sign them for more than 3 years when they're age 16. And that's the problem with homegrown talent. Now, when it comes to money, you're looking at the math. I believe you're talking about like Matt Riley, right? When he went for 30 million. Again, 30 million for us in Scotland is massive. It's huge. It's nearly a full Champions League campaign. So it's hard to turn that money down. Because Celtic will reinvest that money. They'll buy 3 players at 10 million now. You know, and it's just it's a machine. And it's a healthy, Celtic are a really healthy PLC. You know, when you look at the balance sheets and you look at it's healthy. You're not sitting there going, we owe this, we owe that, we've pushed this. No, they're a really healthy club. Yeah. You know, and that's again, it's down to I've just got to give a lot of praise to, you know, the board that they've done they've made the right decisions. Sometimes the right decision is not the decision everybody wants, and it's a hard decision. But it's just football's sustainability, and that's what Celtic is kind of have given their fans.
Yeah, they did that brilliantly. So, when was your last Celtic game? When were you last at Celtic Park?
I was at Bayern. I went to the
Oh,
gym.
you were there.
Really?
Yeah, I flew in. I think I flew in Tuesday morning here. I left here at half past 2 in the morning. I woke up for a 5:45 flight down south of Italy, so I could fly up to Rome and then from Rome straight to Munich. So I was there for that.
Amazing.
That was the last game I was at, which is probably 40 years ago or something. It feels like it.
What was the atmosphere like in the away end?
It was good. I wasn't sitting. I was with Celtic. I went over as a guest to Celtic, so we were more central. But the away fans, who are my people, they were sitting up on the left of me. Which most times when I do travel, I do sit up there anyway because I do prefer an away. You know, whether it's I was at the Bergamo game as well, or recently with Atlanta this season. The atmosphere was great. You know, Celtic fans are always in full singing, and it's just everybody there thought we were going to do it. You know, everybody. It was like a miracle. You know, you have to believe. You can't not believe. And as the clock's ticking down, we're looking at the clock. It's 1-0 still, 1-0 still, and and you're just thinking, if Callum only put the ball in the net in the first half, if only this happened in the first half, we could have been 2-3-0 up, I believe, at the start. And it's okay to say that never happened, but we did have 3 really good chances that we never took. On another God-given day, the miracle might have pulled off. Celtic play Bayern 9 times out of 10. I think Bayern are going to win, but that 1 time out of 10, the ball's round. That chance we might win, and I think that could have been the time. Unfortunately, it wasn't, but the atmosphere was still great, and everybody left that stadium. I know we're knocked out, but we UEFA representatives, Bayern representatives, they're saying you must be really proud of your team, and everybody was. The boys gave their heart and left it on the pitch, so can't complain. We can't point fingers. It's just the way it worked.
So when you see the players coming out the tunnel, obviously you're a player in your youth. Do you always get a bit jealous with or are you more happy as a fan?
No, I'm not definitely not jealous at all. No. I'm happy with my life, and I see the way I look at it is you're part of a Celtic family, and everybody's part of this machine that moves forward. It's called Celtic, and it doesn't matter if you work security, that the door guy, or you're the lady that says hello to you when you walk in. It's all part of a family, so there's no jealousy there at all. I'm happy for them. I'm counting my steps, trying to get 10,000 steps in a day. That's the most I can do. But no, good, good for them.
Well, I say you've done more than that. You did wear the strip for the Jockstein anniversary match. How was that as an experience?
Yeah, Jockstein one was away to Dunfermline, at the Dunfermline ground, and yeah, that was a first time played in front of 5,000 people at the time, I think. But then we played in the Lubo against Henrik, and that was a sellout at Celtic Park. And that's something ridiculous when there's 60,000+. I was so unfit for every single game. I think I'm the only actor that doesn't work out. But I was so unfit. You start running for 10 days before, a week before, think you're going to get some fitness, and then honestly, it was just not there for me. But and you can't hide, so it's not like you look around you and you just think, oh my gosh. It was horrific when there's that many people around you, because but it's all for fun, and that's where you just can't take it seriously. If you take it seriously, you shouldn't be there. It's a fun day out.
So which one was it where you was training with Mario Melchiot? Were you training with him?
Mario, yeah, Mario. Mario was my other best man at the time. But Mario, he was a pal of mine when I lived in LA, so we hung out all the time in LA, so we kicked the ball about in LA a lot. He tried to get me fit. He failed. He's not the best fitness coach.
How was James McAvoy and Martin Compston? Were fit or same level?
Martin's more fit than I am, which is not hard at the end of the day, and I'm quite happy to admit it. And I think my fitness was probably the same as James's at the time, but I've got 2 young kids, so they don't really allow you to. I'm chasing them. That's with my fitness.
So you did quite a lot of independent films, but I was looking at the people you've worked with, but what made me laugh, I was doing research, and I seen the photo of you posing with Pierce Brosnan in his Celtic kit.
Yeah, that was the last movie I worked on. It's a western. It's called Unholy Trinity, and it's due out this year. And it was interesting because his son played my son in the movie, so it's like him and I are always like going at each other in the movie. Like there's a rivalry between us. So when we first met, it was like, Gianni, he's Irish, and he's like, oh, I've heard so many wonderful things about you. And then cut to the first scene, and I'm on a horse, and he's on a horse. And I bloody hate horses. I hate riding horses, I should say. Anyway, so I'm on a horse, and he rides up, and I ride up, face him, and, gives his speech, and I give my speech, and it's a back and forth, and I can't control this horse. So his horse is straight, my horse is straight, and I was supposed to keep it there. And my horse kept trying to turn round. So he's kind of turned round, and the camera stays the same. So then suddenly his angle's gone, and he's like, and he was really nice about it, but it was like I'm trying to ruin his shot. I kept trying to ruin his shot, and every time I tried, the stupid horse, man, honestly. And there was a horse handler holding it as well. It's not like I'm holding it wrongly. They're holding it out of shot, they're holding it. And the horse kept trying to turn round. For some reason, kept trying to turn. Anyway, after it, he's like, he says, I thought you were a nice guy. He says, you're trying to ruin my shot every time. But no, it was great. And we slowed up there, and we ended up hanging out so much, and he called me up, and he didn't want me driving, because we'd have dinner every night. He didn't want me driving, and he's like, because he had these two big cottages up the hill in the mountain, and he's like, God, Gianni, I'm not having you drive it. Come and stay. You've got to take the spare room. He's with his 2 sons and that, and he's driver and that. And I'm like, no, it's all right. I like the hotel. He's like, no, please take no. Get your suitcase. Come up. So eventually I did, but and became like one big massive family. They're just this whole family were lovely, and it's a friendship. And then obviously he would paint, and he would talk about his Irish heritage because he was born in Ireland. A lot of people didn't know that, but he moved to London when he was younger. But he's got this love for Ireland. So, I introduced him to Celtic, and we had the club, the club flew over a top with 007 as a number on the back, Brosnan and that. So, and a couple of scarf for his boys and that. So, they were great. Sent it over straight away. And,
brilliant.
He loved it. He actually hung up his scarf as well. And he had a painting, and he drew a painting with his scarf and the painting. So there's the great love. He's embraced Celtic's heritage and history. He's a great man. I love Pierce. Love Pierce.
Yes, and then another one you managed to get to wear some Celtic kits was Sam Jackson.
Yeah, Sam was on that movie too. Funny enough, we did back-to-backs with Sam. But yeah, the movie before that was a movie called Damage, which was actually shot in Scotland. And it's on Amazon Prime in the UK. It did really well, actually. There should be a sequel, hopefully soon, shooting soon. But yeah, Sam, it's funny because my wife, she was a publicist. And I was always really worried to, because you work with Sam, and him and I are like opposites in the movie kind of thing. And we work together in partnership without giving it away. And I was a wee bit, you're a wee bit worried. Like, start work with Sam Jackson. And she's a publicist in LA. So I'm like, just come with me to work, help me break the ice. She's like, you might not even remember me. But I'm like, just come to work. So walk in with the missus and walk forward, and I see him in the distance because he's, had presents with all these people around him and that. And I'm like, here we go, it's going to be, he's going like, who are you? And then I hear, Amanda, what are you doing, Amanda? And I'm like, oh, I'm here with my husband. I'm like, oh, hey, man, give me a hug. And that was it. From that moment on, it was like pure easy sailing. So, and obviously, he's wanting to know about Scotland, and and I told him about Celtic, and he loved the idea of it. And it was funny because the driver that the boy from Livingston got organised for him was a Rangers fan, and he asked him to sign a Rangers top the day before or something. So it's like that. So he's holding this thing, and he did Sam doesn't really like stuff like that. But he signed it, and he's got a grumpy face, and other Rangers fans were like, "Oh, he's one of us. He's one of us." And then the next day, he's got a big beaming smile with a Celtic top on, or was a Celtic hoodie or something like that. I can't remember. But anyway, he's a lovely guy, and he was on the Western too as well. So,
you need to get him to a game, Gianni. You need to get him to a game.
There wasn't a home game during the actual filming. There wasn't a home game. There was a break, and then there was another break, and then there was 2 away games, or else we would have definitely came. We would have came. But I remember the director's from Liverpool or Manchester. He comes up to me and he says, "Who's your team?" And I'm like, "Celtic." And he goes, "I just want something. I want just to talk natural. I need a wee break of naturalness in here, just to bring it just between the two of you." So he's like, "Sam, ask him what kind of." So he says, "What colour is it?" I said, "It's green and white." And so he goes, "Somebody get me a green and white Celtic scarf. Get me a Celtic scarf." So there's a green and white, a Celtic scarf in the house where we're filming, we're shooting, and during dinner, Sam's like, "You soccer man?" And I'm like, "Celtic through and through." "You?" And he's like, "Golfer, drinker, golfer." But it was great to even get Celtic mentioned in the movie. It's great when Sam Jackson's talking about Celtic thing in a movie. So it's just something to tell your kids when they care. Like,
wasn't there some controversy though around the time when you took the picture of him? Because apparently a few weeks before that, there's a picture of him with Rangers gear. Apparently.
Oh no, it was a few days before that.
A few days before.
A couple of days. It was the driver that gave him a Rangers top. And he says, "Can you please sign this? It's for charity. It's going to get raffled." So he just signed it, and he's like, But if you look at the pictures, the one that was published, he isn't smiling or anything with the Rangers top. It's a complete comparison. But Sam. His biggest characters, great character.
So that film you mentioned, Damaged, I believe you were one of the writers on it, producers.
Yeah, definitely. I'm involved in the writing on that movie. And then obviously both put it together. But yeah, Sam read it and thought he loved his part, and he really... It's very hard to attract talent of that name, but when he read it, he just thought this was definitely for him.
Excellent.
Yeah, brilliant. So you mentioned filming in Scotland. What do you? So you've filmed Scotland quite a few times now. I was looking at some of your projects. I even watched Gasping that you did with Frankie Boyle.
All right, yeah. Greg Hempel. Greg directed that. Greg Hempel directed that, and he because I don't really do comedy, and he's like, "I just come," and I'm like, I was a wee bit scared that I'm not, comedy's all about timing and everything. He's like, no, I want you to be this just obnoxious. I was like, I could do obnoxious, that's all right. With Frankie. And Frankie's such a quiet guy, and like, as soon as that filming stops, he doesn't, I remember correctly, I don't think he flies, I think he's scared of planes. He's just really quiet, so he's the complete opposite. So I remember in between takes or, after filming, he's the complete opposite of what you see, but again, a lovely guy. Quite a clever guy, actually. He's very intelligent, very well informed about so many subjects. But
he's a Celtic fan as well, isn't he? I believe. Or
so is Greg. Yeah. Greg was at my wedding too. And, he sat next to Chris Commons, I think. So I think Chris and him took in a Celtic game together. So at the time.
So you mentioned Greg Hempel there as well, and just on the recent news about was it James Martin, Eric, who's in Still Game, who unfortunately passed away. But you had a little cameo in Still Game as well with Martin.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah. That was the last season, and it was before I think it was before the cup final or something like that, or maybe the semi-finals. It was right before a game at Hampden, so it was like get that filmed and then off to Hampden right after it, if I believe so. But yeah, it was fun to do and it's fun to be part of, you know. And Mark McGregor was good as well. So you know, and growing up in Scotland, still games are always like I don't know, it's just a landmark of Scotland, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, so you get a wee bit. It was fun being part of it.
I was looking at some of the other names that you've worked with. Morgan Freeman, doing the kids movie, was it?
Yeah, that's a long time ago. Yeah.
Dolph Lundgren, Wesley Snipes, Val Kilmer, Mickey Rourke, Bruce Willis, all these action stars.
Yeah, Bruce Willis was on A Day to Die with us. And his dementia was starting to kick in then, unfortunately. But he did get a boy's cap, then, which he actually wore straight away because he went to play golf that day. So he's walking about this golf course with a boy's cap. Frank Grillo was there as well. Kevin Dillon on that movie. I think there's photos with him always some sort of Celtic memorabilia. But yeah, Danny Glover, Ron Perlman, Hell on the Border. John Cusack, I think, was the older one that I don't quite get. I didn't really click with him, to be honest with you. But it's only folk that you kind of hang out with, you go for dinner with or something like that. You know, there's a bond.
So is there anyone that you've met? Obviously, you met some massive stars with your job, essentially. So is there anyone that you would say that you were starstruck by yourself, and how did you kind of handle that? I suppose obviously you mentioned a little bit about Sam Jackson there as well, breaking the ice. But has there been anyone else you've been like, oh my god?
So it's not so much about being starstruck. It's more about sharing the platform, sharing a stage with somebody of that kind of status, you know. But you've got to get it out of your head. I think initially when I first started working, you know, I remember there was a time that Vinnie Jones and I did 5 movies, I think, in the space of like 2 years together. And I think the very first time, you know, VJ doesn't, you know, he's like, just come in and do this. I could say that. You know, doesn't want to talk about things, you know. And I'm thinking, I've worked with Vinnie Jones and at the time, and this is 2012, 2011. And I think 2012 was the first, no, 2011 it was actually. It was a movie called The Cross at the time. It was the first one. And then, so you just get that feeling. But then after 2 or 3 times, it kind of just, and we're just the same kind of thing. You know, but it's just more about, you know, if you're just, because you're sharing a platform, you just want to make sure that you're up to par. And you know, that's what you want to be. You want to challenge each other, because acting is not just about yourself. You're trying to invoke something in somebody else as well. You've got to, you know, if you've got to be angry, I've got to make you angry.
On your future projects, is there anyone you like to work with? I know in an interview I read, you did years back, but you said your sort of idols were like Daniel Day-Lewis, Gary Oldman. Is there any people you'd love to work with or projects you'd like to be on?
Daniel Day-Lewis is obviously the ultimate chameleon for me. He's the ultimate performer, and Gary Oldman's right behind him. You know, there's a list of folk I'd love to work with, and eventually I will, hopefully. But to be honest with you, is it a specific type of movie? Probably not really. It's more about the character and characters' journeys within the movie and what kind of message you're trying to get across. But yeah, you know, as long as it's fun and you never lose having fun, then that's part of it.
Would you like to do more writing and producing? Would you like to do that more?
No, I never really. It's hard for me to get time, honestly. It's hard for me to get. I have to write when the kids are sleeping, you know, and so I'm burning candle both ends. But no, I've got no specifics. I'm enjoying my journey, and you know, I'm enjoying this day by day how things go. You I'm happy where I am. So as long as it keeps running, that's what I care about.
That's the main thing.
And the news that there's Line of Duty season 7 coming up. Can't Martin get you a little cameo in there?
Nah, I'll leave Line of Duty to Mark. That's fine. It's all right. I'll stick to my stuff. He does his stuff. It's fine.